Good morning, everyone. My name is Jack Cohen, and I am a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I represent two companies here this morning in my role as a member of the Chamber. One is KPI Dynamics, where I'm a business coach, and the second business is ICFO Capital, where I connect entrepreneurs to venture capitalists and get startups going with financing. I want to talk this morning about a couple of different things related to growing your business. Growing your business requires an active and proactive sales strategy, and it's a contact sport. I also want to talk about risk in your business, and then I want to spend a minute on giving back to your community. So we'll have a short presentation, and then there will be some time for Q&A at the end if folks are on, and we'll leave that for the end of the presentation. We start and we talk about sales. Sales is a contact sport. It requires participation and it requires planning and preparation. And to do that, you have to get your sales suit on and start up. It's just like preparing for a boxing match. You have to train, prepare for it, prepare for the expected, prepare for the unexpected, and treat it like a competition because that's what it is. And no matter what anybody thinks, when you're in a sales environment, you're not just talking to your client, your prospective client for sales and revenue about your products. You're competing against every other person that has any other kind of product that they're trying to sell to your client. So your client has a limited amount of dollars. They're going to spend those dollars where they find the most amount of value for their business. And so when you look at competing, you got to think about competing about everybody out in the universe that's trying to sell products. So this morning, I want to talk about where you are in the sales quadrant. This is the magic sales quadrant that we use to define where people are in terms of their business growth. We look at folks that focus on today, that are that are tactical, and then we talk about business owners and folks who are selling in an environment where they focus on tomorrow, where they're much more strategic. We look at classifying sales folks as either niche players or businesses, by the way, not just salespeople, but businesses as niche players or visionaries. And there are challengers and leaders. And the key thing about being successful is the ability to execute. So there are different characteristics of folks and businesses that fall into these four quadrants. Let's talk about the first quadrant, which is the niche player with a low ability to execute. They focus on relatively minor markets. They don't pay attention to what's going on in the marketplace in general, and they lose focus in driving their business. And generally, they have a lack of planning. The next quadrant are the visionaries who understand the market. They have a vision, but they don't really have a plan, or they don't stick to a plan. They never execute properly. So then you move up the quadrant to those that actually have a little bit of a vision. They can act, they can execute to some degree, but they don't really understand the market in full. And finally, the real successful businesses are the folks that execute well, that act for today, but think about tomorrow in everything that they do. And these are the real visionaries and leaders out there. And as you look around the community, if you're a member of the chamber, you know who those people are. There are folks in the community that are constantly at the forefront and leading in the business community. And not only are they leaders in the business community, they're leaders in the community at large because they are successful. And one of the things they do is they give back to the community, which is really, part of what we'll talk about later in the day. So let's take a look at growing sales and where you are. Yeah, you have to know who your customers are. Anybody that has a business should have a profile of what the ideal customer looks like. And the challenge is really to build an army of evangelists. And these are folks that love your product. They will take a bullet for you no matter what you do. You could walk down Fifth Avenue, you could shoot your dog, and they will love you. They will always love you. These are the people that you want to build as ideal customers. The other thing that's important is to come up with a way of making yourself unique and differentiating yourself and having the ability to articulate it. It's really important to have a 15-second elevator speech that kind of tells people what you do. Just as an example, I'm a business coach. I help businesses improve their business processes so that their businesses run better, grow faster, and make more money. It rolls off my tongue like I sleep it every single day. And in your own business, you should have a unique qualifier and a way to describe what you do simply, succinctly, and quickly in no more than 15 words. And this is your elevator speech. It's your value proposition, and it must be unique and distinguishing in your business area. We also talk about this thing about knowing people, liking people, and trusting people when you're running a business or you're trying to do sales. This is a real great to have. I mean, it's an essential. It's great to have, but it's not the be all end all. It's just something that you need to be able to do, and it's a good qualifier. But there are some things that are lacking from this statement that you really need to think about. You need to know why your customers buy from you. If you don't understand why they buy from you, you're never going to build an army of evangelists. And the other key question that you need to know the answer to is why they don't buy from you. You have to understand why you lose business. And it comes down to basically understanding the reasons why people buy. There's only three reasons in the business community, and there's four overall if you look at consumers. If you look at why people buy, they buy based on the ability of your product or service to increase their revenue, grow their profits, or increase their productivity. The second parameter is they buy because what you offer reduces their cost or expense. And the third reason is they buy from you because what you offer limits or eliminates their business risk. And then the fourth reason is they like it. This is in the consumer area mostly. People go out and buy a Ferrari because they like it. It's an ego builder. Makes them feel good. They feel comfortable in it. But essentially, people buy for these four reasons and these four reasons only. And you can describe this in many different ways, but these are the key reasons why people buy from you. And if you can't provide any one or more of these three or four things, people will not buy from you. And you need to understand that. When they buy, when they see that your product or service will increase their revenue, reduce their cost, or eliminate risk, then you have developed value. And the question then becomes, how do you sell? So there's this myth called relationship selling. It's a myth. And I know this has happened to everybody. It's happened to me, and it will happen to you. You can go out into the community, you can wine, dine, you can know your prospect, you can know their kids' names, you can know, what size shoe they wear, you can know their dog's name. But for some reasons, you never close that prospect. And it's happened to everybody. You walk back into the office, you speak to your boss, I'm going to make this sale, it's going to come through. I know these people, they like me, but there's one thing missing, okay? You haven't demonstrated value. You haven't demonstrated value. Every one of us that has been in sales has had a client or a prospect that we felt we had in our pocket and they went somewhere else. And the answer is they went somewhere else because I didn't demonstrate value. I didn't solve their revenue problem, their expense problem, or their risk problem. And so they went somewhere else where they found that. And that's key. The second myth is transactional selling versus value selling. The goal is to build repeat customers or generate referrals. I mean, every sales call has to have an objective. And a win in a sales call doesn't necessarily have to be a purchase order or a customer buying something from you. It could be a referral, or it could be a referral that you give to a prospect. That's a win because it builds trust and it builds rapport and it builds you as being a valued asset to your prospective clients. The first sale, the first time somebody buys from you is really a transactional sale. They're taking a risk. They have some perceived value. They think they're going to solve a problem that will increase their revenue, reduce their expense, or manage their risk. Well, they like it, okay? But the real success is when people come back and they buy from you a second time, the repeat customer or the repeat sale. because that is the sale and that is the customer that you've demonstrated real value to, because now they're coming back. They found value the first time, and now they're going to find value going forward with you as you move your relationship forward in the customer vendor relationship process. You demonstrated value. So let's take a look about customers arrive. There's a customer journey map, and you can look at this in several different ways. In order for customers to make a buying decision and for you to grow your sales, your customers need to be aware of your product or service. And there's lots of different ways to do that. And this map kind of articulates the path that prospects go on their way to becoming, from being a prospect to becoming a customer. It involves learning about your product, having confidence in your product, considering your product, and you shape that image through a variety of mechanisms, whether it's a blog or social media, or direct mail, or whatever. Then they purchase, and they can purchase through any mechanism, either in your store, online, through an agent, a broker, or whatever. And then what happens is, after they purchase, they want to be able to get service on the product or service that you sold them in the first place. And so you need to be following up, providing follow-up service, and building trust in those customers, so then they become advocates for you. So this is just kind of one way to visualize how a customer goes from being a prospect all the way to being an evangelist in one sense. I talked about that at the beginning of the talk this morning. There are probably 7 or 8 ways to grow your revenue. These are proven methods. Some of this is pretty obvious. Some of it might not be. I'm going to walk through several ways to grow your revenue this morning. Obviously, the most obvious one, and gee, Sherlock, I found my squad car, is to get more customers. Okay, more customers generally result in more revenue, and the trick then is to keep those customers. So how do you go about finding more customers? You market effectively, and you grow. You make the universe of folks that you sell into more aware of your product. The next way you can grow revenue is through having a bigger transaction per sale, a bigger dollar amount per sale. This is the old McDonald's, do you want fries with that burger? Do you want a Coke with that burger mentality? So whenever you provide a sale to a customer, it's a good idea to try and find a way to increase the tab or the invoice by providing some additional service. In some businesses, I'm thinking in the corporate world, if I can, let's say you're a dry cleaner, okay, or you're in the clothing business, you're at Kohl's, right? You can provide additional service, for example, when you sell a suit by providing lifelong tailoring. I know when I buy a suit at Men's World over in Mira Mesa, I may spend $500 or $600 on a suit. It's a average size suit. But when I walk out of that shop, okay, they're gonna take care of me, because every time I need that suit tailored, they'll do it for free. Every time I need it pressed, they'll press it for free. And these are add-on services. When I go in to buy the suit, they're going to sell me a shirt, several ties, several pair of socks, and most likely a pair of new shoes. And that builds up the ticket. It goes from being a $500 purchase to being a $1,000 purchase, And so that's another way to grow revenue. The next way to grow revenue is through repeat customers. There's something about the cost of obtaining one customer. It's very expensive. The cost of getting that customer back is much, much lower. And the cost is simply good service and offering good product. So if you can consider the lifetime value of each customer that you do business with and treat them and service them, they will come back to you and they will continually buy from you. And they'll buy new products and services as you introduce them. So lifetime value of a customer is another way to grow your revenue. The next way to grow your revenue is through raising your prices. We've all seen this just as a matter of the pandemic in the last couple of months. Walk into any restaurant, your tab is 10 to 15% higher in most cases. Try to buy a car today. They've raised the prices on cars today because the demand is so high. They can't get microchips to build cars. Okay? You walk into the clothing store, supply chains from overseas are clogged right now, and the supply and demand cycle is all off. So people are raising their prices now, and they're growing revenue. And if you look at company revenue and balance sheet statements, companies are growing their sales because they're raising their prices. You know, it's something you have to consider. You have to do it in a modified way, but you need to raise your prices if you want to grow revenue. The next way is to add more products and services. You know, when you have a new product, it's a chance to, first of all, develop some new marketing materials. It's a chance to attack a new market with new products, and it's a chance to add a new set of revenue streams, you know, to your company's bottom line. So consider that as you run your business. And finally, just a quick review. These are the 5 or 6 ways that you can grow revenue. There's, more customers, bigger transaction, a bigger dollar amount per transaction, you repeat customers, raise your prices, add more products. And let's not forget about these. E-commerce. Once you're on the internet, you are a 7 by 24 by 365 customer. You are a worldwide entity. Anybody in the world can find you. So it's really important that no matter what business you have an adequate website that provides an easy way for customers to purchase and an easy way for people to find you. And the way they find you is by marketing your website through social media. So this is real important in growing your revenue. The next facet is exploring new markets. In the world of let's say shoes. Okay, that's a pretty good example. Nike built a business of running shoes a long time ago. Nike's business expanded when they went from running shoes into football shoes, into soccer shoes, into Little League football shoes, into overseas European market, into the Asian market. When you take a product and you look for a new place to sell it, you will generate new customers and you'll generate new revenue. And it takes money to do that. It takes a marketing plan to do that, but it's an area of revenue growth that you really need to think about if you really want to grow your revenue. And this is part of the strategic part of being a business owner, is exploring new markets, knowing what markets are viable, knowing what markets are not, knowing how big the market is, and what percentage of that market you can actually capture given the amount of resources that you're willing to spend to capture that market. Because no matter how big the market is, you can say the market is $100 billion, okay, and I want 10% of that market. Well, to get 10% of that market, you're gonna have to spend X amount of dollars. And if you cannot spend X amount of marketing dollars, you're never gonna get that 10% of the market. You need to think about this really strategically and look at your resources as you do this. The next activity is to look at developing synergy partners. Every business owner should have, a handful, I recommend 10, partner businesses that they can refer their customers to, your customers to. And the reason I say that is people walk into your shop and you may be a dry cleaner, let's say, you may be a restaurant owner, let's say Harry's, for example, mainstream bar and grill, right? Harry is in the center of town, okay? Everybody goes into the mainstream cafe at one point or another who lives in Poway, okay? Harry gets to know everybody, all right? And Harry gets to know other business owners as well. But what happens is customers come in and they talk, and sometimes they share what they're looking for outside of the need to have a good meal or a good drink at the bar. Harry, in his wisdom, for example, knows who the cleaner is. He knows who the auto mechanic is. He knows who the lawyer is. He knows who the doctor is. He knows who the chiropractor is. And Harry has a way of referring his customers to other people in the community. Now, if we're chamber members, obviously we want to do that. It's really easy because it's easy for us to find a handful of synergy partners. But when you do that, you become the knowledge center. You become the focal point and a business trusted advisor to clients that walk into your business. And it's a good idea to develop at least 10 of these businesses that you can refer clients to. And guess what happens? Okay, generally, when you refer clients to another business, they'll do the same to you. And you'll get business that you might not have otherwise gotten, and you'll get more revenue in your business. So it's always good to network. It's always good to have some strategic partners. It's always good to have some synergy partners in your business. You know, one begets many. There was a gentleman in our chamber, Ed Franklin, and he talks about this continually. About you may not need my products today, but you know five people that do, or a couple of people that do, and they know a couple of people that might. So it's very important that you continually network and grow your business by networking. It doesn't cost you anything but the kindness and the awareness of your fellow businesses in the community. Really key. All right, so just quickly in review again, grow your business through e-commerce. Don't forget social media, look at new markets, and don't forget to network and use other businesses as a focal point to refer your customers to other people, because it will come back to you. So there are three key revenue metrics to consider in any business. And these are the most important that I talk about with my clients, because metrics are really important in any business. The first one is that you need to grow a certain percentage of revenue from new customers. Most people right now, it's probably a 65% revenue from existing customers and maybe 35% from new customers. Your business will only grow if your goal is 50% or more. If you can get 50% of your revenue from new customers, your business will grow. And the corollary to this is know the number of new customers, but the number of new customers must always exceed the number of lost customers. That's a key factor. You can get more new customers all day long, but if you're losing more customers than you're gaining, your business is never going to grow. So growing new customers, retaining your old customers, and keeping a scorecard on this is very important, because you really need to know, where your revenue is coming from. Your business will grow when you make the effort to grow new customers. And then the other key metric is your return on investment of marketing dollars. Marketing dollars are your most important asset beside your time and your people in your business. And the rule of thumb is generally that each marketing dollar should generate no less than $7 in revenue. In some businesses, it's double and triple that. But as a rule of thumb, $7 is probably the minimum amount of money that every marketing dollar should generate. And that translates to about 12% of your revenue budget. And that's a good number. As a startup business, you're probably going to spend 30%, maybe more, of your revenue on marketing. But as your business matures and as your market expands and as your products expand, the percentage of marketing dollars to revenue should decrease, but it should never go down below 12%. And what more can you do? Well, you got to know what else your customers buy and be able to refer them to your synergy partners. It's really important to know your customers, know what they like, know what their problems are, know what they need, and talk to your customers, get to know them. This transactional selling is great, but when you can really develop a relationship by having customers come back to you continually and then be able to refer them to your partners, is a great way to grow your own sales and grow the sales of your synergy partners. You want to become the business of choice for your product or service. I know that when I think about insurance, first person I think about is a member in the chamber, as Kathy Peterson. When I think about an attorney, the first person I think about is John Mugdrum. He's a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I've been working with John for 4 or 5 years. I think about real estate. I think about housing real estate. It comes right off the top of my tongue, because I know these people. They're trustworthy. I like them, and they provide value to their customers. And I know their customers are happy with their service. So, become the business of choice for your product or service, so customers like your product, and then be able to refer other people in your network so that they will like their products and services as well. This is really key. When you market your products, you want to market through education. High pressure selling is a dinosaur. It's dead. Nobody likes to be sold. People like to learn. And today's prospects and customers are more educated than in the past, because they have so much information at their fingertips through the internet. But you want to focus on education that focuses on the value of your product or service, because customers will buy based on value and what they perceive as value. And if you can solve their wants and their needs, if you can show that your product or service is something they like and feel good on them, if it'll help them grow their business and their revenue, if it'll cut their expenses, or if it manages their risk, that's value to those customers. And you have to educate people on that and then let them make a choice. You never want to sell people. You want to let them educate them and let them make a choice based on the value you demonstrate. And then communicate with and service those customers. There was an advertisement on TV several years ago. It was a United Airlines commercial about a company that had lost several of its clients, and the manager is in the sales pit with all the salespeople around, and he's handing out airline tickets to all the salespeople, saying, "You're going to go visit all your customers now, face to face." You have to stay in touch with your customers, and I'm not saying go out and visit every one of them. Stay in touch with them, communicate with them, call them, send them an email, send them a text message, send them a newsletter. Keep them involved, keep them abreast of what's going on, ask them what their needs are, ask them if they're happy with what they bought in the past, and continue to service those customers. They will become evangelists if you provide service and value. And the only way you can do that is to communicate, know what you're doing right, and ask what you can do better. And customers will appreciate that and stay loyal to you, and your revenues will grow. And the last piece is always try to offer the best in class products and services. Offer quality stuff. I mean, people don't mind spending money as long as they get a quality and a valuable product. Everybody knows that. You buy that way, I buy that way, a lot of people buy that way. Offer good products, things that last. It'll benefit you. And the last piece, once again, is be aware of your competition. Know what other people are doing. Look at what they're doing well. Look at what they're not doing well. Make sure you're on top of what you're doing well. And if somebody's doing something better than you, up your game. And if you're not doing something well, fix it. It'll make your company stronger. Risk. We talk about risk, and everybody knows what the pandemic has done to our businesses. There's an old saying that's been heard in the hallway: what matters gets measured, and what's measured gets managed. It must be managed. So there are 10 different focal points that I like to talk about when I work with my clients. These have to do with one, cash flow, revenue, expenses, profit and loss, accounts receivable, accounts payable, inventory, your credit, and your debt. This is your basic balance sheet. If you're running a business and you don't understand your balance sheet, your P&L statement, get some help. Talk to an accountant. Talk to a business advisor. You need to understand where your business is at. You have to be having more money in than money going out, and the cost of goods has to be much lower than the sales and revenue. I mean, that's pretty simple. You have to be collecting money on time from your clients, because if you don't, it's going to cost you interest from money from your lines of credit if you have to use your lines of credit. And you have to pay your bills on time, otherwise your credit gets shot, and you may be paying fees on top of the already difficult payments that you're paying out already. Watch your inventory. Make sure that you have enough inventory to meet demands, because if you don't have enough inventory in your channels, or enough of a sales purchasing process to keep items in the inventory channel, you're going to lose sales opportunity. Watch your credit limits. Make sure you have accessible lines of credit, and watch your debt, because these will kill you. These will kill your business. And a lot of business owners are not adept at this, and they really need to go get help. If you don't know how to do this, find somebody that can help you with it, even if it's your accountant. Your accountant will be able to go through this with a fine-tooth comb. You're paying them for the service, let them help you out with this. It can only help your business. The next thing to think about is business liability insurance. Every business is at risk. Every business is a target for a lawyer looking for a lawsuit. Every business has customers, vendors, competitors that walk in, you have employees and you have contractors. Any little thing that goes wrong, a customer slips in your store, you have a dispute with a contractor, you have labor dispute with employees, you need liability insurance. And if you have a corporation or LLC, you need key person insurance with your business. And if you don't, you need to speak to a business insurance agent. Now, there's a lot of there are a lot of aspects to running a business. In fact, we've spoken to a couple of business owners in our conversations in the chamber. A lot of businesses have been paying incredible fines for not staying up to code, and they get sued by people. So, and this goes on day in and day out. People looking for quick money. You got to have business insurance. If you don't, your business is going to be at risk. Which brings me to the third point of regulations and compliance. This is one of the biggest expenses that any business has, but by not complying with regulations and being out of compliance, you're gonna maximize fines, and it's gonna cost you a ton of money, and it may close your business down. And if your business is closed down, there is no revenue. So you really need to pay attention to regulations and compliance. If you don't have a business attorney, get one. It's the best money you'll ever spend. Your insurance agent and your lawyer are your two best friends here in managing business risk. And don't let anybody ever tell you the difference, okay? Because it's the truth. And finally, on this side of the ledger, there's your staffing. Taking care of your staff and managing your staff, making sure your staff is well, injury-free, you have a safe workplace, a place free from accident-prone environments, keeping people healthy will make sure your business is up and running. And everybody knows that one of the biggest problems we're all facing right now is the shortage of employees. There's a reluctance to go back to work in some cases. In some cases, there's some other economic things going on, but you want to make sure your staff is healthy and you want to remain productive. It's key to your business success. Your competition, know what your competition is doing. This is one of the biggest risks that businesses run by not knowing what other people are doing. You don't have to fear your competition. You don't have to lose sleep over your competition. You have to know what they're up to. And you need to know what you can do to make the landscape a little more advantageous for your business. It's that simple. So stay on top of what your competitors are doing. Don't lose sleep over it. The sixth item is cybersecurity. You know, everybody's watching. There's a great commercial out there by Apple. Why don't you mind your own business? I don't know if you've seen it, where people are hovering over a guy walking with his phone, and the Apple thing comes on and they've got this security and people disappear because Apple is keeping away cyber criminals and people hacking into other people's business. Assume that people are looking at your website, people are hacking at you. Eventually, assume your drives will crash, assume viruses will invade your network. You must take care to have a great cybersecurity scheme, a great computer security scheme in your business. Everybody's business relies on the internet. We have a bunch of great folks in the chamber who do IT support. Take a look at the list of folks in the IT support. Michael Markwhite, for instance, comes to mind right at the top of my head. I used Michael to set up my network. Did a great job. My network is secure. It's up and running. I don't lose sleep over cybersecurity because I know that my network is protected. So it's real important to have a cybersecurity process in your business. Next is property damage. You got to make sure your business is insured and make sure your place is a safe place to be. Because if your building and your property and your work environment is not safe, you can lose inventory, your computers can go down, and you can lose income. So pay attention to the state of your property. It's very important to keep it in good working order. Next thing is the supply chain. One of the things that's going on today is that there's a shortage of a number of things, and it's not due to anything businesses are doing. It's caused by the pandemic. It's caused by goods not being able to move from point A to point B, and having supply chains and alternatives is real key to having a successful business because you want to be able to meet customer demands. What's happening now is some basic supplies are in such shortage that the prices that people are able to get are going through the roof. And it's great for revenue, but it's bad for the consumer because consumers are paying very high prices for stuff right now. So as a business owner, you want to make sure that you have alternate sources of supply chain along the way. If you make pizzas, make sure you have two suppliers of flour. Make sure you have two suppliers of canned goods, tomato base to make pizza sauce. Make sure you have two cheese purveyors so you have a backup so you can make a cheese pizza. It's real simple. Keep your supply chains open and rely on backups as much as you need to, because without it, your business can suffer. Fraud. This is an area that every business needs to pay attention to. And fraud basically occurs when a business has a lack of internal controls. Employees are the largest source of fraud among businesses, even more so than customers. Employees that are crooked, that have access to key areas in a business, who have no controls or no backup controls, are free to basically do their thing. And employee-based fraud can cost your business to the point where you can lose your business. So watch out for controls in your business. Watch out for scams from people who supply your business, and watch out for customer fraud. I mean, that's always a concern. In retail, return fraud is a big deal. Theft, shrinkage, those are all concerns that you need to be aware of in your business. Take good care to make sure that you have controls to manage your inventories and your supplies. And finally, the last one is reputation management. Having social media management, having a good reputation in there on the web is key to your business. And everybody has a horror story about a Yelp review. Yelp has given social media management a bad name. People are asked to pay to remove bad reviews. It's not a good place to be. So if you have internet presence, if you have social media presence, it's real important that either you or a consultant that you hire manages your social media reputation on the web. There's no quicker way than to lose business than to have a bad rap on the internet. And we all know that a dissatisfied customer will tell 20 people, that or more, that they're dissatisfied with something that you did. Now, have a way to get customer feedback right away. And as soon as you get that feedback, address the issue with someone who may be disgruntled. It's real key to your success. And that pretty much touches upon risk. And finally, the last piece is supporting your community. There's a company out there, it's called Insperity. Their mission is to help businesses succeed so communities prosper. And when businesses succeed, communities do prosper. And in Poway, 20% of our Poway chamber members are nonprofits now. And you have to ask yourself, where can your business support the community? So what happens when businesses engage in support, some portion of the community will benefit. If you're working with the elderly at the senior center, the elderly benefit. If you're working at VFW, veterans benefit. If you're working with the homeless or battered women, they benefit. The quality of life goes up. And businesses that do that are often recognized, and their support is reciprocated by the community. It's real key. It's not that it's beneficial for your business, it's just the right thing to do. And as a business owner in a community where we want to see prosper, we want to do the right thing, by our community members, because the community supports your business. You need to support the community in kind. So there are several ways where you can help support your community. You can go to the Poway Chamber website. There's a number of nonprofits you can look up. You can go to the Poway City website and find opportunities to contribute to the community. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all these places have a place for social contributions. Look into the chamber. The chamber is a great way to contribute. Poway Neighbors next door, all these places have ways for you to volunteer in the community. And also the Chieftain is a great place to look at human interest stories. You might find something that tickles your fancy. You might find a cause worth pursuing. Take advantage of it, because you will contribute to the community and you'll feel good about it. And feeling good is always a good thing. So there's some local organizations that I'd like to call out. these are some of the members that may or may not be in chamber or nonprofits, but the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts comes to mind. They're great organizations. Boys and Girls Clubs is a great way to contribute to the community. We have VFW, our veterans. One of the biggest tragedies in our country is the way that veterans are treated. Homelessness among veterans and poverty among veterans. These are guys that and men and women that serve our country. They deserve the support of the community. They put their lives on the line for us. We owe them a little gratitude. We can do that by volunteering. So Optimist is a great women's organization. Contributes to helping support women causes, help support battered women, help support women getting ahead. It's a great organization. They've been really supportive of the chamber. So, let's give them some support. Look into your local hospital or retirement community. They're always looking for volunteers. People in hospitals are lonely, they're sick. Sometimes they may not have family to come visit them. Sometimes they need people to do certain things that can contribute to the welfare of the patients in these places and the residents of these places. Consider doing this. These are great causes. Poway Gardens is a great example of that. And finally, the Kiwanis Club, Lions Club, your local church or synagogue. These are all great places to consider contributing and working with. They add tremendous value to the community and they improve the quality of life in the Poway and surrounding community. So let's support these folks and let's participate. And just some quick summary. The veterans groups, the senior center I mentioned about, food drives, clothing drives, the Toy for Tots program at the chamber works well. I know Duncan Devices up in the business park, they're not a chamber member, but they run a great toy drive every Christmas. Habitat for Community is a great way to contribute to building homes in the community. And whether you contribute your time in volunteering, your talent and expertise in contributing to a cause, or money, your treasure. Any one of these three or all of these are great ways to participate in making our community more successful. And at this point, if there are any questions from anybody who's here, I'll be happy to answer them. I'll turn this over back to our host this morning. Here we go.
I have a question for you, Jack.
Yes, fire away.
So obviously value is extremely important, but how do you coach people when it comes to offering discounts? Because everybody seems to want a discount. So how do you coach people in striking that balance?
That's a great question. Discounting and price selling is a question that everybody faces. And the best way to avoid getting into heavily discounting is never to sell on price, but to sell on value. You have to demonstrate value. And the way you demonstrate value is by going over and above. You deliver more than what's expected. It's hard to do. It takes discipline to do, and it may cost you a little bit of money at the beginning. But when you stick to your guns on price and offer more value and deliver, that's when you get past that transactional sale. Of one time, people make a buy, and that's a transaction. But when they see that they're serviced well, and the money they spent was well worth the money, they'll come back. And I'll give you a personal example. I use a chamber member for my insurance. My insurance rates are a little higher. I can go get a quote for 3 or 4 other companies and save a couple $100 a year on my car insurance, my home insurance, and earthquake insurance. Okay. When I have an issue, I have never have to worry about picking up the phone, calling my agent, and knowing my agent will be there to address my need. I had a car accident a while back, and it wasn't my fault. We filled out a report. I called the agent. The agent and the people behind my agent went to bat for us. And we actually came out of that with no damage, other than I had to get a new car. But the insurance company was right behind me. I'm paying a couple $100 a year more for this insurance agent than I could if I go to Geico or some other place, or State Farm or some other place. It's value. I see the value. And that's something you have to demonstrate. It's action. It's just being there. Stay in touch with your customers. I hear from my insurance agent. I hear from my lawyer once in a while. My accountant took me to dinner. I have the same accountant for I don't know, 20, I hit 25 years now in California. I'm paying him more than I should. You know something? But I never have a problem with the IRS. You know, and that's value to me. That's value. So he goes over and above. He takes me to dinner. He answers my questions. He's there when I call. You know, that's how you do that. You have to coach that, and it's tough. That's not to say you can't offer incentives, frequent volume program buyers. That's fine. If you offer a frequent buyer program, that's a great way to discount. So you're going to get repeat revenue by doing that. And that adds to the lifetime value of a customer, which I talked about, to some degree in the presentation. So hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions out there? Pierre is lurking. He's always there.
Jack, I think this has been valuable information. We need to put a message out to our chambers saying, if you run a business right now, you kind of need to just come and look at this. You may be doing a lot of things that you mentioned, but it's always good to review some of the things that you talked about, especially in the changing environment that we have right now. You hit home with a lot of points in my area, because my customers are students, but they're fee-based students. So, to me, I think the biggest value for our program has been that repeat customer, and then that repeat customer is, I read a book a long time ago called Raving Fans. And that's what you want to make people, is you want to make them raving fans, that when they talk about you to others, and that is just, that just helps you bring the program up and things like that. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording right now, so that way we can go ahead and finish up any other side discussions that we have.
Can I make one more comment?
Sure.
One more comment? Yeah, I just want to make the point that every business is unique. And, when I talk about what I talk about, it's not the be all end all, because every business is unique. And, nobody knows their business like the business owner. So, people coming in and advising can only advise in best practices. So what I always advise is, if there's an area of expertise that you don't have, go get some help and look at people who may be able to help you, because they'll take the time to learn your business and help you run your business in the manner that you run your business, and maybe help you find some best practices. But this is not the be all end all of how to do any of this. This is just, one set of best practices. So, there's many ways to skin this cat here. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording here. We thank you for your time. You've got the contact information in there. We'll get this posted as soon as I get the link, and we'll get it out to our customers. I thank you, to our chamber members. I thank everyone for participating. And once again, thank you.
Thank you. And, if anybody has any comments for ways to improve this, I'm all ears. Okay.
Okay.
Always like to get better. Okay.
Thank you.